Hello everybody and welcome to Liana James Live for 30, or just live quite frankly. Thank you for joining me this evening. For those that have never watched this program before, this is pretty much all things hairdressing. G'day Blair Witch. Today we're going to do myths. We're actually going to do, are they myths or are they facts? People have sent me all sorts of questions into us, and we'll handle them bit by bit. Hopefully that's not a reverse angle for you, but if it is, unlucky. Basically that says myth and that says fact. But this show is all about, today is all about myths and facts, but in the past we've done all different things about what products we use, why we use them, how we use them, and earlier today I just did one on how hair lightens and all the mechanics of that. So that's quite entertaining. But today's always is going to be about myths. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I've got a whole bunch of them that people have sent in to me. But if you have a myth that you have heard or can think of, just something sparks it during this session, make sure you type it into the comments so that I'll be hopefully able to answer it for you. But before I kick it all off, I have to say a big thank you to all those people that did write in and direct message me with different myths. Some just actually sent a whole website worth of things for me to check out, which is really great. And that was really, really exciting, to be honest with you. So, myths. Everyone knows what a myth is. People just generally talk about a whole bunch of, things that they've heard over the years. And sometimes they actually make sense. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that would make sense. Like, for example, one of the questions that will come up tonight is, if you cut your hair, it grows for longer, for example. It will grow. It helps it grow, almost like your hair is some mythical plant. I will ask. Here we go. It actually came up already. Thank you, Blair Witch. If you want your hair to grow longer, you need to get more regular haircuts. And I'll explain exactly why that is either a myth or whether it is true. It is on my question, so just wait for that to come up. So before we kick it all off, I'm going to start with our first one. And this is inspired by Big Bang Theory and Sheldon. So, fun with flags. This is fun with myths. Okay, now, our first one. Interesting question. Does vinegar, here we have some vinegar, does it help the hair to grow? It's a very interesting question. I never thought of this one coming. I haven't heard it in the salon, but apparently vinegar is very, very good at growing the hair, according to some people. However, what has been researched, in the limited amount of research that there is out there, is that there's not much truth to it. Apart from the fact that your hair might smell quite a little bit, there isn't much evidence. What they have shown, though, is that when you pop vinegar on your scalp, a lot of products end up doing this, but it can stimulate some blood flow to the scalp. Now, we know, in the hairdressing industry anyway, that stimulation of blood flow to that area can help a little bit encouragement of that hair to grow. But I think the intended question of this was, does it grow, period? And does it, sort of grow from nothing, a bit like my hair? Will all of a sudden your hair grow, or will it just make it, go halfway down your back? And the answer is, it unfortunately is a big, big no. And I'm just going to step out of screen quickly. So that is a myth, as far as we're concerned. Certainly from the findings that I've seen on there. Like I said, good to promote some blood flow to the area, but it's not going to all of a sudden make your hair grow really, really fast. So, there's the first one down, and the lovely butcher paper can turn. Will pulling out grey hair make more hair grow? As in more grey hair grow, I think that was meant to say. More grey grow. So the theory is this, that you grab one of these strands of grey hairs, and you pull it out, and then all of a sudden, more grow. 2. Some people have claimed up to 10 have grown when you pull out 1. Quite frankly, it's rubbish. There is no evidence to suggest this is true in any way, shape or form. There is no way that pulling one follicle out encourages another follicle to effectively lose its pigmentation. There's just nothing that shows that that is the case whatsoever. Now, that does not mean that I encourage anybody to start ripping out their grey hairs. Come and see us. We can colour them for you. But you don't have to worry about pulling it out and all of a sudden you're going to be sprouted with grey hair all over the shop. I know the text is backwards. It's so annoying, isn't it? I don't even know how to do that. Let me just check if I can fix this camera up. No. If only... No, that just turns the camera around to something else. I'm sorry that the wording won't be in perfect order, but it makes it more entertaining, really, doesn't it? I'll read it out anyway so everyone can hear me and they don't have to worry about this. This is a myth. I think everyone can at least understand those big letters anyway. Apologies. I should have actually thought about this. I actually maybe thought that it was different online. But anyway, doesn't matter. What can we do now? Not much. Ooh, actually... You know what? If everyone can give me 10 seconds, I'm going to try something out. Okay? I am going to give this a crack. Let's see if this will work. This just makes the show all the more entertaining, quite frankly. Hopefully I don't lose people in the meantime. But if I was to put... Now, it will work, but I'm going to be rather uncomfortable in this position. So, what I'm going to do is everyone's going to give me 2 more minutes. I love this. The amateur hour is here, everybody. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to get out of screen. There we are. We're getting there. So everyone can see that now. I'm going to thumbs up myself because I can see it. So, the only thing I'm going to do is potentially get this to come a bit closer over here. And I'm going to ask our dolly to move out of the way over there. Don't you love it? Okay, so everyone can see this a little bit better now. Maybe not the best mirror to watch it in, but that's okay. You don't need to see me as much. You need to see the question. Does putting your hair up in a hair tie damage your hair? So either hair tie or constantly putting it up with pins and stuff. Now, I am going to get Dolly to come in and be an example. Should be nice and close here. So if you're grabbing your hair... Okay, and you're putting this into a really tight knot in this position every single day, believe it or not, there is an issue with it. It's called traction alopecia, believe it or not. And what it does is by pulling your hair in a certain location on the head, so say that's your head, and you're pulling it constantly in this tight, it's actually pulling on where the hair sits in its shaft underneath your actual scalp, and actually can cause you to actually start losing hair in that region, especially on those heads of hair that are constantly being pulled on. Now, there is good evidence that suggests that when you're pulling hair out consistently, that follicle or the root can become thinner and thinner. So putting that pressure on the hair shaft itself can cause a problem. The second part to this question, which is interesting, is around a hair tie as well. So good quality hair ties are if you don't use a good quality hair tie, it can be a problem because the actual hair tie itself can actually rough up the hair itself. So while you don't pull your hair out, alopecia style, what you will do is actually damage the hair follicle, the hair shaft itself, damaging your cuticle and whatnot. So my suggestion is don't do it over tight, don't do it too much. Okay. It is a very good question, I have to agree. It was a ripper when I heard that one. I was like, this is one I always wanted to ask about. Now, does stress cause grey hair? Very, very probably fitting question, to be honest. Has to be said. So does stress cause grey hair? Studies have actually shown now that yes, this can actually happen, and at a faster rate than what was deemed. So people used to think, there's no way that greys can actually cause you, stress can cause you to have extra grey hair, and very quickly. But there have been some smaller studies done where this is actually true. Now, what actually happens in our fight or flight response? So when we are in panic mode, everyone's probably very familiar with fight and flight. When we're in that mode, all of a sudden, it can really impact your pigmentation. So I'm just reading right here. It's the melancolites, which actually impacts what occurs with your pigmentation in your hair, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. So if you ever seen anyone and you think, geez, they grayed overnight, there's possibly a chance that they actually did grey overnight. So this one is big tick, true. You can grey from stress. Don't stress people. Take it easy. All right? And why I say it's very fitting at the moment, I know people are going through a pretty tough time. So, it's always easy for me to say, just take it easy and relax. But my high suggestion is try to relax as much as possible. Excess cortisol in the blood can accelerate the genetic process for depigmentation. Thank you, Blair Witch. I appreciate it. I love it. I'm getting schooled on here. This is fantastic. I love it. Will eating crusts make your hair go curly? This is the most... I've heard this one from when I was very little. It always never made any sense to me, and for good reason that it made no sense, because it actually makes no sense. Your genetics have an impact on the type of hair that you will have. And unfortunately, crusts, eating it, does not affect your genetic makeup. Now, there may be other things that happen through life that may impact it, and I haven't done research in it, so I'm not going to give any medical advice, but we have seen people that go through certain conditions and then treatments, and they might have a different texture to their hair. That's different. However, does crust actually do it? Unfortunately, nope. Bing, bing. It's a big no for that one. All right. Next one on the list. Is using ice the only way to get chewing gum out of the hair, and is it effectively? And the answer is, it is one of the ways that you can get chewing gum out of your hair. There are multiple ways, which I never knew actually. So it was a great question that came through. Number one is ice. You can use that. It sort of freezes over that chewing gum, makes it easier to pull out so it's not sticky and constantly sticking to your hair. Second point to this one is apparently peanut butter also does the same thing. So you can put peanut butter on it, and your oil mixed in with that chewing gum will actually help it start dissolving away from the hair and start coming off. You can also use natural oils, like I shouldn't say natural oils, but olive oils, avocado oils, and things like that to get chewing gum out of your hair as well. So there's a few little treatments there, but the point is that this is a bit of a tick, and I'm going to do a tick and plus, because there's extra things that you can do. Where hopefully everyone's enjoying this myth-busting session that we're having on. If you have heard any myths or want something answered, please type it into the comments. I'm more than happy to add to this amazing list that people have sent me through to me. Is egg good for the hair? Can you use it as a treatment? Now, I actually brought one of these bad boys with me because I thought it would be a little bit of fun. Is this part of the egg, there we have it in there, is any of it actually quite good for your hair? Now, interestingly about eggs is that it actually does have some benefits. it can actually help with, in terms of protein. The yolk is full of proteins, etc. The question though really is around, if you had only eggs available to put into your hair, like this, that potentially can smell rather not that nice, has to be said, then I would suggest doing it. However, we've got wonderful smelling products that can do exactly the same job, if not better, as the protein that you might find in an egg. So, can you use it as a treatment? Yes, you can use it as a treatment, I would say. Is it probably the best? Is it good for your hair? That would also be a tick. My question though is it the best thing that you can use into your hair? And I'll write it here, best. Big no from me. And the benefits that you might get from the egg, you can find in many products out there that will give you good protein levels and other antioxidants, if that's what you're looking for when it comes to hair products. Now, olive oil. Is this the best oil for your hair? This is a very interesting one. I've had a lot of people ask these sorts of questions around olive oil, and I've got some here. Whether it's this one or whether it's the spray version, it doesn't make a difference, to be quite honest. There is benefits to olive oil. There are some conditioning and moisturizing elements within olive oil, or avocado oil for that matter, that might help your hair. However, they also can stay in your hair, making it very, very oily and not particularly nice. Also, what happens with some of these oils, which are a thicker consistency, they can stick on the hair shaft itself. And what ends up happening is that you have other issues in terms of your cuticle, or when you want to be doing coloring work, or all those sorts of things. So the question really was, is it the best? And the answer is a big X for me. No, it is certainly not the best. Some of these aren't myths and more questions, but that's okay. 2-in-1 shampoo. I love this question. 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner is as good as using them individually. Now, it is true that even some of the shampoos that exist out there actually have some conditioning agents in it. That's high quality shampoo conditioner, so it might be whatever brand you can think of, right? The question though really is it as good? Now, they have two fundamentally different functions, okay? Number one is that the cuticle layer and the conditioning part of a conditioner is one part of it. The other part of it is the actual cleansing and washing of the hair. Now, it's said that you can overwash your hair and blah, blah. No, your hair does need to get a bit of a clean, you know. The world out there is not exactly the greatest, and my suggestion is that it's certainly not as good as using them individually. Ladies, if your man is using 2-in-1, leave him. I totally agree with this statement. It is absolutely accurate. My personal opinion, the second part of it is that with a shampoo, your pore can open, your cuticles obviously are opening and being cleaned, and then the conditioner goes over them. Conditioners are really, really good at making sure the pores shut over and making sure the hair follicle is nice and sealed as well. So that is, you know, when you have a product that's sort of contradicting itself, I wouldn't suggest that it's as good. So for me, is it as good as using them individually? No, they're not as good as using them individually. I would not encourage that whatsoever. And it's not because I just want to sell somebody 2 products. At the end of the day, you probably end up buying the same amount of product anyway, because it's just one bottle. It runs out quicker, doesn't it? Men don't need conditioner because their hair's short. Love this one. I just explained it a little bit, I suppose, and that is the opening and shutting of cuticles and the opening and shutting of pores on your scalp. So, my high suggestion is that is just not an accurate thing to say or do, especially if you're going to use a cleanser that tends to leave your pores open. So if you're using soap, a lot of men use soap apparently, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you put some conditioner on there. There has been some evidence, believe it or not, where pores are left open, so little pores on your head, all right, and then the disease actually causes issues on your actual scalp and hair. It can happen on your skin, anywhere else as well, but we're talking hair and head here at the moment. My high suggestion is make sure you use some conditioner of some sort, please. Close over the pore, close over the cuticle, make sure your hair and scalp is being looked after. no, this one's a big X from me too. It's certainly better if you use conditioner rather than not. Now some blokes out there will be like, oh yeah, but I hate it because my hair, I want to style it, and when I put conditioner, choose a different conditioner. You don't have to use the most moisturizing and softening conditioner out there in the market. My suggestion is use a conditioner. Maybe that doesn't make it feel like it's you've got duck's hair or something. Use something that is going to do the job, but not make it feel too soft so you can't style it, or you have to end up using 500 pieces of styling product to make it work. Washing your hair daily strips it of natural oils. This is an interesting one. If you don't use the right one, I would agree with this statement, absolutely. If you use Morning Fresh as an example, as your shampoo, I would highly, highly hope that you don't recommend that at all, and I really hope people aren't doing that. It can if you're using the wrong part, but if you use the right ones, they've actually all got some nourishing oils and other elements within the actual shampoo itself. So even though you're washing it, it's actually trying to replenish some of the natural oils that you're actually putting in. Di Lorenzo is very, very well known for this. So my suggestion is no, it will not if you do the right thing. I'll just write, do the right thing. Get the right shampoo and conditioner for yourself, and you won't have this issue whatsoever. So also a bit of a myth. Trimming your hair every 6 weeks makes it grow faster. Blair Witch, I think you were asking about this earlier. The simple answer is this. No trimming of the hair makes it stimulates growth whatsoever. Okay, it's just not true, unfortunately, for those that think it is. What can happen is, I'll illustrate it here on the board. But what can happen when you're trimming the hair is you can stop a split from going up the hair shaft. So, for example, I'll do it like this. There's your hair shaft. Okay. It's a nice, beautiful end all the way to the end. Underneath your scalp, it does not, no one knows what's happening on your root. Like your head, it's a piece of dead strand that comes out of your head. That's what your hair is effectively a byproduct of your body. It doesn't know. However, there is a however on this one. Your cuticles, which is where the hair splits and ends up disintegrating and breaking off, okay, can start splitting. Now your hair could split up the hair shaft quicker than it's growing out of your root. And this is where you can have the perceived outcome of your hair feeling like it grows faster. We encourage having regular haircuts for this exact reason. Because if you keep the ends nice and cut off, get rid of all the dead ends, you will definitely feel like your hair is growing and getting to a longer length than ever before. So my high suggestion to you is keep getting a haircut. No, there's no like special signal that says, oh wow, I got a trim at the bottom there, so I better start pushing more hair out of your scalp. No, that's not what happens. However, you don't want those splits causing you a bigger problem where you just feel like you're in stagnation. Your hair's here, you've been growing it for 3 years, it's still here even though you haven't had a haircut. That's what's happening. Okay? Hopefully that answers your question there, Blair Witch. There is, I didn't answer the actual question though, itself. I would say myth is this point, with a caveat as I've explained. Use of certain hair products makes hair fall out. I didn't even write fall there, I wrote fill out. Doesn't make it fall out. Now, there's no evidence whatsoever that exists that certain products, I mean, obviously if you use, I don't know, petroleum on your hair every single day, potentially, you might have some adverse effects, but you probably have a skin problem as well by the end of that. There are obviously, but this question is about hair products. There's no hair products that really we've heard of that cause these sort of issues where it will specifically fall out. I know enough about, as you can see with my lack of hair, I know enough about hair falling and what actually causes it. Now, DHT, I believe it's called, is a hormone that sits in the head, and that is, people that go balding have an excess amount of this particular hormone and ends up suffocating the follicle. So where your root sits underneath your hair scalp, this hormone goes in there and actually makes your hair thinner and thinner and thinner to the point where it's gone. That's why the only real way of ever replacing a follicle would be by actually replanting another one into your head. However, a lot of people say, oh, but what about laser and all this other nonsense? You know, I've seen it for myself. My hair grew back. Well, what likely has happened is that the hair is not quite dead yet. Okay, and by going over it with laser, you're actually affecting that hormone, and by affecting that hormone, you're allowing hair to grow back again. So my point is, if the hair's gone, there's nothing there anymore, it's not coming back until you replant it. If there is a little bit of life in it, then yes, laser and even some of the shampoos and conditioners that they have out there potentially can help. The simple answer to this question is no, there isn't. And that's all the advice that I have regarding what you should do if you have a hair loss issue. Letting hair dry naturally is better than drying it with a dryer. Okay, this one's very, very interesting. And I'm going to get Dolly in here. Okay, Dolly's just sitting here. Now, if you dry your hair like this, I would agree with the statement. I would agree with that statement, absolutely. Just let it dry naturally. Much better for your hair. The issue is that when you dry your hair like that, you're blowing all the cuticles and hair in all different directions. You're potentially knotting it, like I've already knotted it here. Okay? And you're causing yourself a whole bunch of problems, and it's going to be quite damaging for the hair when you start ripping those cuticles apart from each other. But if you blow dry your hair like this, it is actually, I'll give an example. I mean, just look at that. Even by me using the hairdryer in the right direction, has got this feeling and looking smoother already without me even brushing it. Okay? So, the point of that is, and the point of that little demo, is all about technique will have the impact on the hair that the outcome of the hair that you're thinking about. So, if you're going to blow over it all over the shop, definitely naturally is better. If you're going to use it in a proper manner and potentially use some of the good products like our lovely Extinguish, which is for protection against heated products, then I would suggest that using a heated product potentially is better. The research actually shows that if you do dry your hair off properly, you actually potentially can have a better outcome by drying it off, which is pretty cool. Who would have thought? Heated appliances are better for the hair. Like I said, cars are okay and safe, but if you get an irresponsible driver, they can be very deadly. So the same thing with hair drying and straighteners and whatever. You know, if you're irresponsible with it, you can cause a problem for your hair. Now, if you don't wash your hair, it will wash itself. I don't know about anyone else out there in the world, but I've not seen or discovered we've got pretty intense microscopes these days. They zoom in pretty intensely. There is just no shampoo mechanism in your head. Okay? I'm sorry, but this one is just absolute utter rubbish. Now, you might say that I don't want to use bad shampoos because I want my natural oils to condition my hair and whatever else. That's okay. I can live with that sort of idea as long as someone is actually doing a good job when they're doing that. However, no, your hair does not self-wash itself. Unfortunately, there is no mechanism for it. Maybe one day there will be. Maybe we will develop and evolve that way. I don't see any reason why natural selection will take us down that path, but although there are some people that I've seen that maybe that's what it will do. I would suggest this one is a big myth. And if you're worried about sickness, disease, health even, my suggestion is that you wash your hair and wash it well. And that is it for our myth busting session today. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm going to keep going with these myths. I think they're quite actually fun. On my other shows, when I talk about whatever I'm going to talk about, I'm going to maybe put some myths together for the subjects that I'm covering. I hope everyone enjoyed tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow or the day after that. Bye.